What's the current situation with KTM, Aaron?
Anymore, that's kind of blown over.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything in a long time.
Yeah, it's kind of blown over. Every once in a while, I get a customer in that's like, so is BMW buying KTM? And I'm like, I guess you're not up on today's news. And then they're like, oh, because KTM's going out of business. And I'm like, I guess you haven't read any news.
What about the impact of tariffs on the motorcycle business?
There's no one knows. So
Yeah,
I don't have anything to talk about on that because literally no one knows what's going to happen.
What would be the impact?
Prices go up. Fuck you mean? That's literally what tariffs are. Is prices go up. It's another hit on the cost. So the cost gets spread out to the customer, and that's that. So like if you see a tariff come on, 25% tariff or whatever it is on imported vehicles, well then you're going to see all the imported vehicles go up by 25%.
But you probably won't see it go up by 25% because I'm assuming it's based off of like the imported value, which isn't generally the sale price.
No. Do you know how corporations work? 25% is 25%. In fact, they'll even leverage it to raise it more than 25%.
Well, I mean, they will, but they won't be paying 25%
No,
on like a sticker price.
They're not paying 25% extra of the MSRP.
Yeah.
They're paying 25% extra of the declared value of the cost when it crosses the border. But I mean, you could look at that either way. Declared value is the MSRP. That is the value of the vehicle.
Do you think that it is feasible that some bike manufacturers may wait to import until they see what happens?
No, they will continue import, but they may change what they import. They may decide to not bring certain models over. If they don't have strong sales, there's no point. Just like when Reagan tariffed foreign motorcycles to protect Harley back in the 80s, because that happened. What ended up happening was the way the tariff read was any motorcycle over 750 cc's got tariffed. So what did all the Japanese makes do? Concentrated on smaller and made more power with smaller engines.
So you're saying we could have killed Harley in the 80s?
Yeah, Harley was really close to dying in the 80s. Like they were really close to dying. They got bought out by the bowling company. And then, so they had AMF Harleys, which were built terribly because they didn't know how to build Harleys. They didn't know how to build motorcycles. And then during that process, around that time, they got tariffed because Harley cried to Reagan. You know, they were getting left behind. All the Japanese makes were just crushing them. It wasn't the Europeans crushing them. The Europeans, they weren't doing anything. The Japanese were crushing them. And I think we're going to see a similar wave with the Chinese because the Chinese bikes are getting good. And once they get good, they're going to even crush Japanese stuff.
Yeah, because the Chinese take the Japanese and then they make it better.
Well, they're coming up with their own designs now. They're no longer dependent on copycatting. Which the Japanese kind of went through a similar thing, and then the Japanese, once they started coming up with their own designs, and back then Japan had cheap labor, so they were able to just offer cheaper prices. That's where China is right now. They're coming up with their own designs. They have good manufacturing processes, and the labor is still cheap, so they can offer up cheaper prices. Basically, you get a better product for less money. It's funny, the communists are teaching the capitalist lesson right now, but like that's eventually what happens. Someone figures out how to do it cheaper, and the market just gets to get better products for less cost. So that's where the market's going to gravitate towards. It's just natural progression. Like you can hate on Chinese products all you want. 10 years from now, it's going to be household. It's just how the way it's going to be. I think the Chinese need to learn how to name stuff better.
No, we like the Chinese names.
Like the Chinese, like I don't even like CF Moto. Like I think it's kind of a cheesy name. But they have like all kind of like QJ Motors. And you're like
QJ Motors XCM 350 12-5.
And they have like these goofy like model names like What's wrong with naming it like the Leopard or just something simple that rolls off the tongue?
Like we got to name it the People.
Yeah, like even the People, that's fine. I don't care. People 150. But they always give them these goofy, like, alphanumeric names, and that doesn't work well. So
The Hyundai HG350X.
XG350.
XG350.
Yeah. You don't remember that car?
Well, I couldn't remember exactly the order of the letters and the numbers.
It was the same as a Kia Amante. You remember the Amante?
Well, yeah, it was the knockoff E-Class.
I have done so much work to Amantes, and they fucking suck to work on.
Well, didn't they sell like 12 of them?
No, they sold a shitload of them.
Where
They're
did-
cheap.
Where did they go?
I don't know. They fucking all
In the
died. 'cause
junkyards.
It had 3.5s in them, and they were the first Kia with electronic throttle, and the electronic throttle was not robust. It was very bad design. The accelerator pedal was a normal accelerator pedal that had a normal accelerator cable that went out underneath the hood. There was this it was an accelerator position sensor, but it would, like, the cable would go up to it, twist it, and then it would have your accelerator position. Then that would translate to the throttle position, and they'd push a little electric motor. The throttle was fine. That was pretty robust, and that they continued with that thing moving forward. But eventually they moved the throttle position sensor into the actual accelerator pedal, and they called it an APP, accelerator pedal position sensor. And but the original accelerator position sensor out there underneath the hood would just go bad on these Amantes, and you'd be like sitting in a median lane trying to turn left across a 4-lane road, and you'd be ready to go, and then you'd have your window of opportunity. You go to take your left turn, let your foot off the brake, stomp on the gas, and idle speed. That's all you get is idle speed. And you're like, oh shit, and you've like fully committed to like pulling out in front of traffic, and you can't do anything. It won't go any. You're stomping on the pedal trying to get it to go faster. It doesn't do shit. Because once it would like notate a failure, it could just be like a little glitch of a failure, and it would shut the whole system down. It would go into like a limp mode, and it would just limp out like that. So if you turn the car off and turn it back on, you would get the pedal again. But most people in a panic wouldn't know that, so they would just be full panic.
That would take just as long as it was to idle through an intersection.
Yeah. And I even got to experience it a couple of times, because I would get customers that complain about it, and I got to experience it one time doing exactly that. I was trying to turn left in front of tag, and dude, it just gave me nothing. I was like, shit. So I threw it in neutral, turned it off, turned it back on, accelerator pedal came back, and I floored it, and it did what it needed to do. The 3.5 was also a motor that was difficult to work on. I mean, if you worked at Kia, you got good at working on them, but they were difficult to work on. And because of that, they were expensive to work on. So in a Kia customer, I don't know if you've met any, but if you were buying Kias back in like 05, 06, 07,
You had no money.
it's because you were looking for a cheap car. It's fine if you bought like a Kia Spectra or a Kia Sportage. They were very good cars. Or even
CEE''D.
they didn't have those then. And that's just a Forte.
Yes.
But like, if you bought the Amante, it was an expensive Kia, but comparatively on the market, it was cheap. A Lexus or an Infiniti or any of those cars were 40, 50, 60 grand. This thing was like 25,000. But it costs like a luxury car to do the work on it. Like, do a timing belt on one. It's the tightest timing belt that there is in all of Kia, and there's 4 cams. It's a complicated timing belt, so like you have to do that every 60,000 miles, and we charge like $1,500 to do it. So that's why you don't see any Amantes on the road, is because
The timing belts all snapped.
no one took care of them, and then they all just fell apart. But you can still see like Sedona minivans on the road that had the same motor. You can still see like Kia Sorrentos that had the same motor, and they're doing just fine. It's because they were cheaper to work on. They were easier to work on, even though they had the same motor in it.
The Sedonia.
Which was Kia's #1 seller, the minivan. It was also their fastest car for the longest time.
As it should be. Mom's got to get
Minivans-
somewhere with all the kids.
Minivans have no business being as fast or powerful as they are. Like
They're
they keep
surprisingly
pushing.
powerful when you drive one. Like when in
Yeah.
these modern minivans, you get in them, they're like 350 horsepower for some reason. Like,
Well, and
That's what they should be.
like you look at every other vehicle, like a pickup truck today. You can buy a pickup truck today with a 4-cylinder turbo in it,
yep.
like a full size 1500 pickup truck. But then you go look at a minivan, and they're still putting V6s in the minivans. They won't put a 4-cylinder in a minivan.
They put the big block V6 in there for some reason. And,
Yeah, and I'm like,
and it roasts the front tires, and you're like,
you don't
Why?
know who needs this. People don't weigh that
dude,
much.
they got to get to
Oh,
soccer
yeah, people
practice
do weigh that
now.
much.
Yeah, minivans are crazy, dude. I remember we had a rental minivan once, and we went to in Hickory, North Carolina. We went to the strip that like everybody used to cruise on, and oftentimes on that strip, it's like in front of their mall, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and oftentimes you can get into a drag race. And we're in a rental minivan with a keg in it, and it was me, our friend Travis, and our friend Ty. It was the three of us in this minivan. I was in the back. Ty and Travis were in the front seats. Travis was driving because it was his rental, and this little prelude come up next to us. So Travis starts like doing the back and forth thing. And we got him to race, and dude, we dusted him. We like left him behind in a rental minivan. And I went to open the door to make fun of him. Right as I did that, Travis smashed the gas. The door was flying backwards out of my hand. Because I was going to offer him a beer. Because I had a keg in there with me.
As you should.
So we're just rolling around, man, living life.
With the kegerator.
No kegerator. It was just setting a bucket of ice.
Classic.
With a full sleeve of Solo cups. So I could hand out beers if I wanted to.
Did you know that Solo cups are illegal in Europe?
Why?
Because it's plastic trash.
They do realize that basically everything in our lives is plastic, right?
Yeah, but Solo cups are especially illegal. They probably just wanted to cut down on the Europeans having their American parties.
Like making straws illegal had like zero impact.
Well, are they illegal or are they not? Because I still feel like you get plastic straws.
It depends on where you are.
In California, they were illegal. And
Well, California isn't America.
it says like they were illegal, and it had zero impact. It made no positive impact whatsoever. So it was like, well, what was the point? And I always thought too, I'm like, you do realize you can drink drinks without straws, right?
I never use a straw.
I know, I never use a straw. And I'm like, and the lid's plastic. So if you're outlawing straws for being plastic, why aren't you outlawing lids for being plastic when they come on every drink?
Well,
I'm like, the logic to it made no sense.
so I just read about this a couple days ago. You know how like the whole paper versus plastic bag thing at the grocery stores has kind of like died off? So it died off because they did some studies a little while back, and then they've reinforced it because they buried the studies before, and then people did more studies and found out that, yeah, the studies from before that everybody buried were actually true. It is worse to have the paper bags
Yeah, 'cause you're
than
cutting
the
down
plastic
trees.
bags. And they said if you take out all of the plastic bags, extra like reuse benefits, like because everybody reuses the plastic bags, I use them for when we go to the dog park and pick up poop or whatever. I got a whole
I got a whole
thing
thing
in
a
the
sleeve
closet.
of paper bags. You keep a sleeve of plastic bags.
Yeah, and they found out that even if you take out the secondhand use of them, they're still worse because the production of the paper bags is
Yeah, they could cut down
worse
forests to
than the
make
plastic
paper.
ones. And the plastic ones are already recycled, so
Yeah.
like they're already coming out recycled when they're produced. And then the amount of material required to make that plastic bag is so small compared to the amount of material required to make the paper one. So the whole thing was a giant sham.
It was just a farce, yeah. Just because people felt like the
Yeah.
plastic was evil. And it's like,
Well, and they tried to sell you off on like, oh, we reuse the paper ones. Nobody reused the paper
No
ones
one
'cause
does that,
they didn't
man.
hold up.
and have you ever tried bringing your own cloth bags to the grocery store? Jessica was into that for a little while. Oh, let me tell you how fun that is. And dude, you give the clerk, when you roll up and you're like, oh no, I have my own bags, and you put them up there, the clerk is like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like it's just such an inconvenience for everybody. And I mean, I get it. Like, yeah, it's going to be less convenient and it's saving the planet, sort of thing. You know, like that's your mindset. That is the solution in my mind.
I like Aldi's solution.
Yeah, I was gonna say I take my own bags to Aldis all the time.
Oh, you just take the boxes.
Well, I take my own bags.
That's what we always did. We would have like one bag that just my mama procured from somewhere. Don't know where. She just had it. And she would take the one bag for a bunch of random weird stuff, you know, whatever we might happen to have, or cold stuff. It was like a cold bag. And you'd stick like the frozen stuff in.
You're a cold bag.
But then we just go around and swipe the empty boxes. Stuff there's like, oh, there's only like 2 or 3 things left in it. Yeah, we'll pull those out and set those down. And oh, there we go. We got a box. And we just walk out with boxes.
Well, they have the box corral.
Yeah. That was their thing. That's what they promoted. They're like, yeah, just take the boxes. Then they didn't have to get rid of the boxes. Everybody took the boxes home with all their shit in it. Why not? That makes sense to me.
But what about the shopping cart quarter system? How does that make you feel?
I'm okay with it. It's slightly inconvenient, but I am okay with it because I know I've told you about this before. The whole the shopping cart thing, the way to judge people is the shopping cart
Yes,
system.
if they put it back or not.
Yeah. And the Aldi's system kind of forces them to put it back because those people are also people that like value the quarter over leaving it. So they'll put it back to get the quarter back. But if there wasn't a quarter there to keep them in check, then they would just leave it in the parking lot. So I'm okay with it. And the thing too is now that like I have a 3D printer and all that, I can just print quarters, or I can just print a little device that plugs in place of the quarter, and then you can get it
That
back
is cheap
or whatever.
as hell.
I love it, though. Thank you for this.
It's a quarter.
Note to self, Travis uses pieces of plastic to get carts at Aldi.
You should do that and just steal a cart and just be like, this is my cart now.
You could.
I seen a meme like that was like, dude, Aldi's has these carts on sale. They're 25 cents a piece. I was laughing so hard.
I saw a video. It was like a not a TikTok, but a YouTube short or whatever. Some kids were goofing around, and they were like pushing each other around in the cart, and the kid was in the cart, and the other guy runs him over, pushes him into the cart corral, and locks him in with the quarter, and runs away.
That's awesome.
I
Like,
support
you live
this.
there now.
This is your home, buddy. Free child, 25 cents. Comes with a cart.
I frequently scooter to Aldis.
I've never been to an Aldi.
Well, you're missing out.
I don't even know where there is one around here. There's one on the west side of Hamilton, but that's the other side of the world, so we don't go over there.
Yeah.
But
And,
the thing about it is they rearranged the store for no reason, and I don't like it.
Well, that's every box
every
store there is, like seasonal rearranging. Every time you step into, pardon me, every time you step into a Home Depot, they do the seasonal rearrange, and then you can't find anything. And you're like, dude, I just came in here for a
But
new
my
lawnmower
Aldis
blade.
has never done that in the many years that I've been going there.
I can't stand it.
But they did make the aisle of shame longer.
I'm like, dude, just leave it the same because we all shop here all the time and we know where everything is. Don't change
Correct.
it.
Yeah, they do that on purpose. They want you to walk around the store.
I know
Get
they
you to
want
buy
they
more.
want that's why they do it, is because they want you to look at other products to buy. But I think it's a disservice to loyal customers. I genuinely
Oh,
do.
it's annoying for sure. I got mad about it when they did it to our Kroger. They had a grand opening or grand reopening, even though they never closed.
Your Kroger's is
they'd
pretty
been
ratchet,
open-
though, isn't it?
It's not the greatest. It's not in. It's the,
Is
the
it a
area's
marketplace?
okay, but no, it's not big enough for that. It's an old Kroger, so it's
an old Kroger.
small. But they've tried to pack all of the shit in of a bigger Kroger, so the aisles are like a little bit thin, and like the cases around the outside are annoying, and there's shit all up and down in between everywhere. So it's like it's tight for sure getting through everything. But they did a grand reopening And best I can tell, all they did was they added like anti-theft security shit around all the doors, more so than there were before. And then they tore up all the tile and just did the concrete. So we're back to just polished concrete again. And then they moved everything.
Glamorous.
I don't understand the corporate mindset of that, because I'm always like, if you're polishing your turd based on trends, you're constantly throwing money away that you could be using to create value with. I don't see value in laying a flooring and then pulling the flooring back up. Like I just don't see a value in that, other than some corporate shill somewhere thought they patted themselves on the back because they're doing a great job by updating the looks of things. And I'm like, there's no value. I don't go to Kroger because they have polished concrete floors. I go to Kroger because they sell fucking groceries and it's my local grocery store. That's it. So just be that. Like, just be proud to be that. It could look like the 1970s inside. I don't care. Just give me my bananas. Like, it doesn't matter. So that's what I never understand about corporate. You know, this was like, there was a board that discussed this decision. Think about all the, not only the cost of the flooring, but the manpower, not just the guys who are literally the blue collar guys that are in there, like literally, grinding the floor and polishing it out and stuff like that. I'm not mad at those guys. Those guys got hired to do their job and they're doing their job. They do a great job at it. Those guys are fine. But think about like the up top folks. Like, you're getting paid, every single one of them is a 6-figure person. And they're getting paid all this money to what? Decide that we don't like this color of tile? Mm-hmm. You don't deserve 6 figures for that. That's not
Welcome
a 6-figure
to
job.
corporate America.
And I'm like, dude, corporate America is inefficient enough. And then when you get governments, like if you start talking about the government model, it's like it makes corporate America look like a well-oiled machine. Like, it's crazy. And I'm like, dude, it's so inefficient. Where when you're around a small business, most of my career has been in small business. Dealerships are technically small business because of the amount of employees. CCM has like 45 employees. My shop has like 11 or 12 employees. And then if you go to like even a car dealership, you go to your average, car dealership, one single store has like 50 employees, give or take. It's not that many people that work there. And all of Jeff Weiler, like as big as Jeff Weiler is, publicly traded company and everything, it's still tiny compared to like GE and stuff like that. It's just a tiny company. So when you look at those kind of things, you have to be more efficient. There's no choice. Like, one employee tends to do multiple roles because you have to. Where when you get in these big corporate jobs, like, hell no, these people don't do more than one role. They have their role and that's it. And some of the roles are pretty damn redundant. And I'm like, well, what's the purpose in this? And I see a lot of corporate jobs that get super top heavy too. There's like more managers than there are employees. And I see that kind of stuff go on and I'm like, what are you guys doing, man?
I would argue that like almost all places like that with upper management,
yeah, they're super top heavy.
they're all top heavy.
And
Every single one of them.
Well, look at how Elon comes in and does things. He fires 85% of Twitter, and then Twitter just keeps running.
Yep. No
So you're telling me
change.
like 15% can run the company? Well, then what the hell were we doing before? And how much waste was there in the other 85%? It's like a ton of waste.
There was some metric that was like 1% of the workforce does like
half
of the work,
it does half,
something like that.
I've always heard another one that was your top 10% does 90% of your work.
Yeah.
So it's like, so then what are the other percentage even there for? And it's like, dude, it's awful. Yeah. And I'm not mad at the people who are in those positions. I'm mad at the company who allows that to happen. Because the people that are in that position, yeah, dude, like if you can get away with being in a job role that you don't have to do shit and they pay you a ton of money, like, hell yeah. Like, that's awesome.
That's not your fault.
Yeah, that's not your problem. That's their problem.
Yeah.
Like, they're the ones who are stupid who are paying you too much for doing too little. Like, That's their
Well, I think
problem to figure
part
out.
of it also is these people that could be in that top percent, they're not motivated because there's no carrot being dangled for them
Well,
to
yeah,
do anything
yeah,
more
absolutely.
than what they have to.
And again, like that's the company's problem.
Yeah.
That is absolutely the company's problem. That's not their employees' problem. You're not
Work smarter,
like-
not harder.
like entrepreneurs. What drives them to do what they do, even if unpaid, is the opportunity. So they have opportunity there to be like, hey, I'm doing this so that in the future I will be successful. Like we're doing a podcast. It's an opportunity to try to do something. And and an entrepreneur is flexible. If that doesn't work, well then screw it. I'll try something else and I just keep trying. But if you're not an entrepreneur, you're an employee. When you're in that situation, you have no ownership, and without ownership, you have no drive. Like, why in the hell would I do any more than they pay me to do?
You got no skin in the game, so why would you?
Yeah, you have no
stick
skin
your
in the
neck
game,
out?
and like there's, and a lot of times these corporate jobs, you could care and you could really, really, really try, and you end up with no
Nothing.
reward. All you get is the same amount of money you would have got if you did nothing.
Yep.
So why do anything more than nothing or the bare minimum to get by? That's all you got to do.
That's like the Office Space. It's so funny that so many movies from so long ago have proven time and time again to just continue to be true.
Yeah.
And I love the Office Space one where he's like, Bob, I got 17 bosses.
And he's like, in any given week, I'd say I do about 15
15
minutes of real work. And I was like, dude, that's so true. It's so ridiculously true. Because he's like, and he even brings up, he's like, what's the point? He goes, if I bust my ass to ship a few more units,
He doesn't see a dime.
I don't see
Yep.
any of it. He's like, the shareholders, the board, they see it.
Yep.
But I don't. So where's my motivation? That's what he brings
Mm-hmm.
up to them. And they're like, oh, so what, a few stock options? Would that motivate you? And he goes, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that's how it is too. You're like, you're going to give me like $10 more? Okay. I mean, whatever. I'll do $10 more worth of crap,
15, 25 minutes
And
of
that's
real
what's
work.
And that's what's funny is like the heads of corporations, they can't even see through that because usually they're all silver spoon motherfuckers that have had their whole life handed to them, and they don't understand motivation. They don't understand drive because they've had everything given to them their whole lives. So they're like, oh, well then I'll just give you a few more pennies. That'll make you do it, right?
Yep.
Because that's been the way they've solved every problem in their life is they just pay a guy to do it.
Well, they're just running on autopilot. Chances are they're not even really making that grand of decisions.
No.
They're just like, here, we've presented these 3 options for you. Pick one.
Nobody wants to pick one.
Well, and they just ask somebody else, like, oh, which one do you think would be the best? And they go, oh, I like this one. And we're like, all right, let's do that. All right, it's lunchtime. That was hard work.
Like polishing concrete floors instead of having tile down.
Yeah.
That's their big, and then they pat themselves. Look at the good job I did. And I'm like, could you guys do a case study over a 10-year period of how that positively affected the bottom line?
Well, like, I don't know, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, there was polished concrete floors.
Yep.
And they covered it all up.
Yep.
It was like, we're just going in circles here.
And also you got to realize too, when you're Kroger and you have a captured market, I mean, realistically, what other grocery store chain in this area competes with Kroger?
Yeah, how could you really screw it up?
You can't screw it up. Like, you're like, no, we have a captured market. We can do whatever the hell we want. So let's run it as cheap as possible because we have a captured. Where else are you going to go? You going to go over to like Walmart to do your grocery shopping?
We're going to go over
Hell
to the,
no.
the new Publix.
That's the problem with the captured market too, is it's twofold, is that it's running as cheap as possible to remain the captured market, but it's also, what else are they going to do? They have to come to us. So we can raise the prices, we can make stupid decisions. They get lax at it because they don't have to work to maintain it.
Yep.
So they just, just like,
Well,
I
until something does come.
well, and then they don't know what to do, and
Because
then they fold.
eventually that happens. Like a Publix or someone
Yeah.
comes along and just like completely disrupts the market.
When it's funny, when those things happen, all of this stupid shit that they do all this, oh, let's change the color of the floors, or oh, we found that if we did, 15 self checkouts instead of 5, all that shit falls apart really quickly when they actually have to compete with somebody.
Yep.
But can we talk about the grocery store of motorcycles?
What's that?
The Iron Pony.
Iron Pony is an interesting take. As a dealer, as a vehicle dealer,
They don't move much volume, do they?
They do.
They do?
But surprisingly, not as much as they very well should. They are far, far off as far as unit count goes.
Because they have like every single brand.
Yeah, they have nearly every brand except Harley
BMW.
and BMW. They have KTM at their other store. So I think it's just Harley and BMW that they're missing now. But the thing about Iron Pony the reason I say that they don't do as well as a new vehicle dealer as they should.
Because they have polished concrete floors.
Yeah. Well, we have polished concrete floors, but so CCM, just to give you a nice little case study. CCM does 2,000, maybe as high as 2,500 units a year, which for a power sports dealer is rock and roll. It's really, really good.
And that's between 2 locations?
No, that's just their Wilmington store.
Okay.
We do 500 at down in Walton. We do 500 units a year, give or take. And CCM's 2,000 to 2,500.
But their store is a lot smaller.
Who's that?
CCM in Wilmington.
Smaller than Iron Pony?
No, than your store in Kentucky.
Their store is much larger than ours.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's all the space?
Yeah. So they own all that land, and then they have multiple buildings. And
So their showroom is just smaller.
their showroom's smaller because it started out tiny. That building started out really small, and they just continually expand it. They've expanded it multiple times, almost to the point that they're out of parking lot. And now they're going to pour new. They bought the property behind them. They're going to pour more parking lot. They're going to build an additional building. Like they've sunk millions of dollars into that place just because of how well it's done.
And it's literally the middle of nowhere.
It's in the middle of nowhere, and it's just because of their business practices that make them a well-run dealership. If they weren't well-run, they wouldn't be successful. Iron Pony, their success is based on the fact that they're just big. Like they're big. They have all that gear in stock, which I applaud them for what they do there because that drives them to sell more motorcycles. You make money in this business selling motorcycles, not selling jackets and helmets. Even though the margins are pretty good on jackets and helmets, they're not that great when they're discounted. You're not making any money on that crap. And if you sold 1,000 $100 jackets, 1,000 $200 jackets, 1,000 $300 jackets for the year, that pales in comparison to what vehicle sales does. Like I just talked about that example. That's $300,000 worth of revenue that you're making 30% on, which is roughly $100,000 in profit that you're going to bring to the bottom line. Then you got to deduct all your operational costs. Where over on the motor vehicle side, you're going to do, instead of doing 300,000, you're going to do like 15 million that you're going to keep on average 15% of. That's a lot more dollars at the end of the day. And I think Iron Pony's Columbus location, like the one that we know that we've been to several times, I think they do a similar vehicle count as CCM annually. So it's like CCM is making more money than Iron Pony, and Iron Pony is as big as it is and has all those brands. Mm-hmm. It's because when you've been to Iron Pony, when you walk over in the new vehicles, what's it like? Not a single salesman says hi to you. Like no one pays attention to you. And I get why. Most of the people that walk through there are tire kicking. But as a dealership, you have to invest. As a salesperson, you have to invest. The people that are coming in to tire kick, chat them up. Don't anchor yourself to them. Don't follow them around every place, but just chat them up. Say hi, be friendly, smile, give them a good experience. Because when they are ready to buy, they're going to go to the person that they had a good experience with. They're going to, especially if you offer every brand. I know there's the argument is they're going to go where the prices are cheapest. But CCM, 2,500 units a year, definitely doesn't have the cheapest prices. How in the hell are they selling that many units when they don't have the cheapest prices? Because I'll tell you who has the cheapest prices is like Spikes. That's in our area. They're out in Indiana. And Spikes is a whore dealer. Like what their motto is we're going to sell it for cost. And we're going to try to make our money on parts and service. I've heard people say like, that's how dealers make their money. No, it's not how the dealers make their money. Not even close. It's like last year we did like almost $10 million in sales revenue. And in parts and service combined, I think we did 1.2, 1.5 million, somewhere in that ballpark in revenue in parts and service. And marginally speaking, it was parts and service holds like a 30% margin, where sales holds on average more like a 15, 18% margin. But when you're talking dollars,
Volume.
like dollars, it's sales. It's not even close. And so Spike's just dumping all their front end profit right off the rip, and then trying to concentrate on other stuff, whether they're selling back end product, which they Spike's concentrates on selling dirt bikes, and you can't sell back end on dirt bikes. Like you cannot sell an extended warranty on an off road competition machine. The extended warranty companies won't let you.
Yep.
There's no other products you can sell on in the back. So maybe you just get it financed and you get finance reserve for 1% of a dirt bike that's $10,000. Oh, cool. I made $100 selling this motorcycle. You can't run your business on $100. It costs us $6,000 a day to unlock the doors. And so you got these dealers out there that are whoring them out like that. And I'm like, that's not a long-term outlook, you know, like you can do that temporarily. They were doing that through COVID when everybody else was like marking the bikes up over MSRP. Spikes was dumping them. Guess what they ran out of?
Bikes.
So when they ran out of bikes, they had nothing to sell and no one coming through their doors.
When they probably ran out quicker, which is fine. They sold all their units.
That's what we
but
did.
They didn't make any extra money on any of the units. And
then
then everybody else still sold out on units.
But they made a lot of money on it.
They made a lot more money. They just got caught with no units and no money.
And our philosophy is, can you replace the bike or the customer? That's how you have to look at every sale. That's how you approach every sale. Is it easier to replace the bike or is it easier to replace the customer? If it's easier to replace the bike, discount it, get rid of it, get another one in. If it's easier to replace the customer, screw your offer. I'll wait for the better offer to come by. And that's how we look at it. Spikes doesn't. Spike just goes, just discount all of them. But the thing is with KTM products, you can't just reorder them. They're not available for you to order. You can't order at will. You have to do like seasonal orders and things like that. And once you get your allotment, that's what you get. That's all you get. There's no more. So when they ran out during COVID, they ran out. They were just out of motorcycles. A dealership that had no motorcycles.
Yep. The one thing I find interesting about Iron Pony, which is different than a lot of other places, the layout. And I don't know, I assume the gear and products business came first before the dealership side. So I get why they're kind of like pushed together, but I think it's good and it's bad. It's good because it's different, that you can like go to a store that's like, you know, like a grocery store, you know, you're going to walking through the aisles of stuff, you know, just accessories and whatever, gear and all that stuff. And then you can walk over and then walk through a whole bunch of bikes and stuff. I think it would help them if they segregated the bikes a little bit more so that it was treated more like a dealership, like going to your place. But then I also think that would kind of hurt them because that's kind of the one thing they got, is that you can easily walk in between either pieces.
I think having it all under one roof like that is a solid choice. Octane in Middletown is trying to do. They were trying to be the Iron Pony competitor, but they're just not. They don't do gear. And it's like, well, that's what makes Iron Pony is the gear. But Octane is a large building that they filled with a bunch of different brands of product, and you can walk around and check it out all under one roof. So it's kind of cool that you can do indoor vehicle shopping, which is pretty nice. So if you want to shop for side-by-sides, or they even have boats in there and stuff, and you can do it all indoors. That's nice. And Octane does pretty decently as far as volume goes, but they are kind of a crappy dealer. We don't have any issues competing with them, put it that way. And they're nice enough guys. I've dealt with the guys up there. They're nice enough guys, and they do all right. But I think there's some sales practices they need to change. Iron Pony's sales practice absolutely hands down need to change. They're terrible at sales. Like they're really, really bad at it.
In what way?
One, you walk around, there's no greeting. There's just none. The way you should greet in sales, it shouldn't be like, "Hey, Travis, anything special bring you in today?" You do that crap. Like if you go, "Hey, what did you come in to look at a bike?"
No, I'm just looking around.
That's the answer you're going to get. Everybody's just looking until they meet a salesman. So that's kind of how that's our philosophy. That's one thing that Mike always says is everybody's just looking until they meet a salesman.
Well, and I will say it's kind of a double-edged side of it is that we talked about this yesterday. Most people that come through the door, they aren't buying or they are buying, but they know when they come in the door.
I don't.
So it's like you either walk in and you're not buying anything, in which case, why would you waste your time on them? Just let them look and leave. Or they are coming in and to buy something, and typically you either already know that they're coming in to buy something, or they're dead set on buying something, and they're gonna look for you. They're gonna come find you.
And
You
that,
almost don't even have to track them
you
down.
can't. Sales is weird. Like you can't leave them alone. You can't, because people are really shut down when they walk in, and they don't want to talk to a salesman. That's how everybody is. Like I'm gonna. You walk into the store and you're like, "Get away from me," you know. And some people take some time to process before they open up. But the salesman's job is to get them to open up. As soon as I get them to open up, that's when I can sell them stuff. Until they open up, I can't sell them a damn thing. They're just going to shut down. They're not going to talk to me. So what I got to do is I got to figure out how to get them to open up. I have to say things to them. I have to converse with them in ways that puts them at ease, that takes their walls down before I can actually start talking to them about the bikes. So when you approach people, you can't talk about bikes. Bikes is the last thing you talk about. You got to get them talking about something else. Like you're wearing Triumph stuff. And I know I said don't talk about the bikes. I mean my bikes. But if I see Triumph, I don't sell Triumphs. I see Triumph. "Oh man, what kind of Triumph you ride?" And people love to talk about themselves. Mm-hmm. So you get them, "What kind of Triumph you ride?" And then Travis would answer back, what would you say?
I don't know, street triple.
"Oh, cool. Street triple. That's awesome, man. Those are slick bikes. Is yours the 765?
It's the 785.
Cool. Is it?
You don't even know about that one.
Is it the RS model?
It's the RT.
What color did you get? Did you get the yellow one or the red one?
Purple.
Hell yeah, dude. That's an awesome looking bike. You ever ride it like down at the Gap?
I only ride it on the back wheel.
Hell yeah. That's what I do too, dude. I'm all about some wheelies. And you just get them hyped up and you get them talking about themselves. If Nick walked in, I could be like, "Dude, why don't you have socks on?"
Because I'm a customer.
Boom, you're talking.
Yeah.
See?
I'm a customer that I'm wearing my flip-flops, which means I'm going to buy something today.
Yeah, that's my indicator.
Going on a test drive.
If you're wearing flip-flops, you ain't fucking buying nothing.
You haven't sold me anything yet.
Have you bought anything? When you went to go to your S1000, what were you wearing?
I was wearing shorts.
And what shoes?
Oh, they were some nice loafers.
You weren't wearing flip-flops.
Well, yeah, it was like February and I wasn't riding at home, but I didn't even need to do any business in the dealership.
I've seen you in slides in February.
In the snow, yeah.
Yeah, but you weren't wearing them then because you were buying something.
Well, I already had bought it though.
I always point that out. Like I see people in flip-flops in the showroom and I'm like, "Yep, I ain't talking to them." But yeah, that little practice, and then something else that sales has shifted to mostly being online, on the phone, texting, stuff like that. That's the shift that the industry has seen. Is it's gone to that with younger generations. That's the way they prefer to do business.
Well, yeah, like if I'm buying something new and I know it's what I want, then like I don't really need to do any tire kicking or any
No.
of that bullshit. It's like, well, this is what I want. You have it. Like, let's
Like-
get this all done and I'll pick it up.
Pretty much the younger generation all shops on spec sheets. So everybody's looking at spec sheets. They're looking at, they're reading articles about the bike. They're watching YouTube videos about the bike. So they don't need any of that. The only thing they do need is a lot of folks have to step inside of a dealer just to throw a leg over it, just to see if like it fits. And then if it fits, they're like, okay, this is the bike for me. And now they just got to buy it, whether they're finance or pay cash or whatever.
Yeah, like with used things, I would need to do more touching, feeling, and exploring.
This is mostly towards new
Yeah.
bikes, but towards used bikes, then you always want to go into the dealer and like give it a look over, make sure that it's not falling apart. Just because it's used, but with a new product, you don't have to worry about that. It's new, it's got a warranty. If anything's wrong, you just take it back. But yeah, like Iron Pony, I've bought a couple of bikes from them, and every single time I've bought, it's been a disappointment. Like I contacted them through their website, never heard anything back. So I text them, never heard anything back. So then I called them, asked for sales, got a run around and stuck on hold for a long time. Finally got through to somebody and was like, hey, I'm looking at buying this bike. And he was like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, can you guys send me a finance app? And he's like, yeah, I can do that. He had to email me the finance app, and I had to fill it out on a computer. And it was like the most archaic finance app I've seen for an online finance app.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he got done, like he would only communicate through email. And I'm like, well, why don't we just fucking carrier pigeon this thing? Like, what are we doing here? You know, and I'm like, dude, this is just terrible. And then on the day of, when I was going up there to pick it up, they didn't have any of it ready, even though it had been like a week's time. None of it was ready. And I was like, dude, this is just awful. And that isn't the only time I've gotten bad service buying with Iron Pony. I got bad service. That was with my Ducati Scrambler. I got bad service buying my my Husaberg. I bought it up at Iron Pony. And Jessica bought her Beta at Iron Pony, and she had a bad experience at Iron Pony too. So like all of it was just like bad experience. And that's what I mean by they need to like update their sales processes.
Well, it sounds to me like they need some type of like, I don't know what the technical position would be, like sales manager, but not just sales, but like a little bit higher than just sales. Like
They need a dealership experience manager.
They need like a GSM, general sales manager.
Yeah.
And then you'll have like floor managers, but like
just needs to go through there and
I don't
just
even think they
clean
need floor
house.
just a general sales manager that comes in there and like completely revamps how they do their sales process. They have so many people working there that I'm like, how in the world are you guys fumbling this?
I think they need to hire in some external consultants.
Yeah, there we go. That helps.
Need to get the Bobs in there.
Someone to write a report, and then they can decide whether or not they do anything about it.
I remember working at Superior Kia. They hired in these external consultants to come in there and like help us revamp and like, you know, it's going to effectively be more profitable.
Create a new vision for our dealership network.
And what they did, these like efficiency experts walked around the dealership, and here was one of the big pieces of advice they had for us back in service. If we turned off the lights when we went home at night, we would save money.
Really? I don't know if I believe that.
And I was like, oh my God, this is just going to put millions of dollars on the bottom line. Turning off the lights at the end of the day. Something that we already practiced. Like it's like, hell, we could put that on a timer, you know? I'm like, good
Some motion
Lord.
lights
like,
on it.
Like, why did we pay? And we paid this company like $250,000.
Oh yeah, it's not cheap.
I'm like, to tell us to turn off the light. I could have told you that. Like, hell, everybody who's ever like dealt with a dad has ever, you know, you leave the room, turn the lights out.
Mm-hmm. Just turn the heat and AC off too. That'll save a lot of money.
They used to do it. Heat and AC off at night, and you'd come in the morning, it'd be 35 degrees inside the shop, and they'd turn the heat back on. And I'm like, That's not good, guys. Like, you do know pipes freeze, right?
Yeah.
You need to keep the heat on at least 50, like, or else you're going to freeze the pipes. Yeah.
I think I'm trying to think. I had it and I forgot it. About something about the same thing, but
The Iron Pony.
it'll come back to me, I'm sure. But watching Scott work yesterday was an experience. I don't think he knows how to tie his own shoes.
No, he's something else.
Like
Yeah.
that guy asked the dumbest question, and Scott had no answer. Not only did he not even be able to give him like a bullshit answer, it just wasn't even a good answer at all. It was just a I don't know. Like he just totally gave up.
What was
on
the question?
answering
Was that the
question.
slingshot guy or was
Yeah,
that the
the
other group?
slingshot guy.
The slingshot guy. So, and here's the bad thing is Scott's our slingshot like guy. He's like he was supposed to be our expert on that.
I think it was something. The guy was talking about something about like an older one. He was looking at a new one, I guess, and there was something different. And he was telling him about an older one. I guess the guy already owned one or something.
Yeah, he does.
And
Scott sold it to him.
yeah, and he didn't remember that. He didn't even know. The guy had to tell him that. Mm-hmm. And then, which, whatever. If it was years ago, I get it. But he asked him about something about like the difference between the two.
With
and
Scott, it's and there's no excuse because Mike has a eidetic memory. Like, he just remembers everything. And as soon as the guy walked in, Mike knew his name and said Scott sold him a slingshot. And loud enough to where Scott could remember. He's like, he goes, "Hey, Scott, that's so and so. He bought a slingshot off you." So Scott has like no excuse to like be talking with the guy. Like, Scott should have. When Mike does that for you, you're supposed to take that and you're supposed to walk out there and be like, "Hey, Nick, how's that BMW doing?" And that way you feel special.
Terrible.
Like, you feel special when somebody remembers you, like, and they call you by name and stuff. Like, it makes you feel like a big shot when you walk into the dealer, and that's what you want. You want people feeling like a big shot. And Scott just fails on that on all fronts. It's terrible. He's got like 30 years sales experience and he can't freaking do this,
it was bad. I was like, man, I don't want to feel bad for the guy buying a slingshot, but I kind of feel bad that like
That's who he's working with.
Equally as bad. Like, that guy was definitely nothing intelligent, but he was like dealing with somebody that was on his same level. I'm like, that was rough.
Did you sell anything yesterday?
I had one scheduled in the morning and I got it done.
What was it?
A dirt bike.
Of what flavor?
KTM 300X CW Champion Edition. And I sold it to a guy that goes to the Comet, so I knew him personally. But this week's been kind of a dud for sales because of the weather.
So moist.
Yeah, the weather always drives sales away.
You would think somebody would want to buy a motorcycle when it's moist out, because what else am I going to do?
Dude, I've had this argument so many times with so many customers past couple weeks. People are like, "Well, I'll just wait till a nice day to come down there." And I was like, I'm trying to come up with like a clever line that like changes their mind about it. And the line I was trying was, you should buy on rainy days, save the sunny days for riding.
We literally would not be doing this right now if it wasn't raining.
Yeah, we'd be out riding, like we'd be out having fun. If it wasn't inclement weather, we would be out doing fun stuff. Like, save this sort of stuff for when it's inclement. Like, I don't want to be sitting in here inside my living room on a Sunday afternoon. Like, that sucks.
I found that, like, watching and just learning about people over time now, people just don't do anything on not nice days.
Well,
if it's a rainy day or something or whatever, like, Kinsey will not do shit if it's raining outside. Like, any indoor activity, nope, it's raining, it's bad weather, I can't do it. I gotta sit in front of the TV.
And I also find that
drives me nuts.
People have no ability to have any kind of foresight in the future. Like, if it's raining today, that's just their existence. And they can't think beyond that. That's it. They're just like, "Oh, it's raining. Okay. Can't do anything." and that's their existence. And I'm like, well, you know, there's going to be days when it's not raining, right? Like, it's not going to be like this forever from here on out. This is eternity now. Like, no, it's going to be, you're going to have days where it's not raining. So let's do stuff that I can prepare or I can knock out of the way, like chores, while it's like this. So when it's sunny out, I don't have to do those things. And obviously there's some chores that you can only do when it's sunny. So, you know, sometimes
It's yard work season.
yeah, sometimes you have to do that, and that happens.
That's what the
but-
weekdays are for.
yeah, and I'll even do that. Like if I really want to go ride on the weekend, I'll like rush home and mow the lawn after work before, and I try to do it before it gets dark. You know, just to save myself that Sunday for riding. I do that sort of thing. And
Sunday fundy.
so like I've found that people just have no foresight into the future. They can't plan for future events, any of that stuff. People are fly by the seat of their pants. They're impulsive as hell, and they cannot be anything like different than that. It's crazy to me.
I like to plan out my existence. Open the phone, look at the weather app, and then you can decide.
I mean, that's a rare feature. That's not a common thing.
I was thinking about this a couple days ago, of like 200 years ago or 100 years ago, or, you know, whenever time existed before weathermen. Like,
It made no difference because they're still wrong.
yeah. But just think of
they're
like,
still horribly wrong.
it wasn't a thing where like people get up and then they listen to the weatherman tell them how their day is going to go. Like, just think about like getting up in the morning and preparing, like planning to do something, you know, whatever it is, you know.
Think about
Yeah.
this week. It started raining on like Tuesday, and it's been raining ever since. If you had no idea it was going to rain for a
Yeah,
whole
like
fucking
think
week.
if you got up and you're gonna like, oh, you know, I'm gonna bale the hay or whatever, you know, or whatever you would do 200 years ago, and then it just starts raining in the middle of the day, and it just ruins everything you were trying to do.
And then your candle burns out.
Yeah, like think of how people today couldn't handle that. They having to adapt on the fly of like weather changes or other random circumstances, things like that. It's like they couldn't handle that today.
Well,
They'd lose their shit.
Most when it comes to motorcycles specifically, like most people in the United States, I would say most people don't really ride.
No.
They own a motorcycle and they might get it out a few times a year, and they ride it like 50 miles, you know, and it's extremely common for me to sell a motorcycle and not see it back for a year for its first service.
The 600-mile service.
And I'm like, why do you even own this thing? And they're like, well, I don't have time to ride. That's a common excuse.
Well, then why did you buy it?
And I always come back to, I don't have time to do something. I always come back with, if you're busy and broke, you're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. Be broke or be busy. Don't be both. Because like I always hear that as an excuse, like, oh, I don't have time to do those things. Well, then are you rich? Oh, you're not? Well, then what's keeping you so busy? Obviously, it's things that aren't valuable. So cut those out of your life.
Well, they sure find time to do everything else.
Yeah,
that
and
they're
they got
doing.
time to go to the bar. They got time to watch the football game. They got time to overeat and fill their bellies up because America's fat. They got time for all of this. It's like, no, you have all the time. You just have different priorities, which is fine as well. If you don't prioritize motorcycle riding is not a necessity. I don't care if you prioritize it, but don't claim and act like this is going to be something you're going to do if you're not willing to dedicate time to do it.
Yep.
I think that's a lot of the
It's a
this
lot of
leisure
money.
market.
It's a lot of money to spend on something you don't do.
and
Leisure.
because of that, a lot of them will use excuses to not ride, like, oh, well, the weather conditions just aren't precise and perfect. Like I hear, I don't ride in the rain, I don't ride in the cold, and I also don't ride if it's too hot. And I'm like, well, how many days that it's not cold, not rainy, and not too hot? How many days do we get like that?
12.
Like in Ohio, it's either 30 and gray and cold and rainy, or it's 98 degrees. There's like nothing in between. So you might get like literally like 3 days in the spring that it's decent out, where it's 78 degrees, sunny, and it's just wonderful outside. And on those days you're mowing. So it's
Yeah,
like,
because the grass is about 1,000 feet tall.
it's like you're gonna have to learn to suffer the heat, or you're not gonna ride. And that's just what it is.
Well, the last time we went out, it was like what, 45?
Yeah. And well, I mean, I know we're more the exception than the rule, where I've ridden in the snow. I've ridden it as cold as negative temperatures, like literally the ambient temperature was negative, and I've ridden. We rode all winter long. Like we're the exception, not the rule. I don't expect most people to do that. I'm not saying that you have to go out in inclement weather. Like if it's a crappy rainy day out, even I'm not going to ride because it's just not that fun. But if it's like 55 and it's not raining, even if it's overcasty, that's a good ride day. Like I'm happy to go riding that. Just got to bundle up a little bit more, but it's not bad.
And even in the 50s, I don't feel like you have to get that crazy.
No, not at all. And you'll still hear people like, "Oh, I'm not going out and riding that." They don't ride until it's like close to 70.
But have you noticed that the spring threshold is much lower than the fall threshold? People are more willing to go out when it's lower temperatures in the spring because they haven't done it all winter
Yeah,
than they are
they're
in the
excited
fall.
for sure. They're
Well,
excited.
I think there's something else to that too. I've noticed myself is that when it's been cold and it gets a little bit warmer, 70 feels way hotter in the spring than it does in the fall because you're used to it being so cold. So a little bit more warmth feels like a lot more than
Well,
it
hell,
actually really is.
in January, the first 30-degree day after 6 degrees feels like it's
Felt like
spring.
it was-
Positively
yeah, it felt like it was
tropical.
You're
80.
like, wow, this is comfortable, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think a lot of people have been cooped up all winter long, so they're just excited to get their bikes out. So the spring's always an exciting time in motorcycling because everybody's like amped up and ready to ride. Where the fall, it's all kind of like just dwindling down. But and also, I'm kind of opposite, being as long as I've been riding a motorcycle, you know, it's damn near 20 years going on.
Because you're old.
Yeah, because I'm old. The spring, I'm like lazy. I've got a lot of stuff to do as far as like yard work and stuff here soon. I'm gonna have to go out and start mowing and stuff. I got all that to do, and the spring's always busy. I got a lot of outside work to do just because you got to clean up after the winter.
Sounds like you need a smaller yard.
I know. I wish.
I mowed
Start paying the
on
neighborhood kid
Tuesday.
to come mow for you.
And the
4 minutes.
but where in the fall, I feel like I'll ride all the way into November, having a great time with no worries because I don't have as much. I've had to put off all this outdoor work all winter long, so I have to catch up in the spring. But by the time fall happens, I don't have any work to catch up on, so I can just continue riding into the fall.
Well, our fall runs all the way to December.
Yeah, and our
around
fall
here,
runs till
so-
December. Hell, I still had leaves in the trees when it was snowing. So,
I still have leaves blowing into my yard somehow.
yep.
I don't know where they come from. Which is like right now, literally right now, there's a giant pile of leaves blown up against the garage door and inside the garage.
Yep.
You had a lot of
Because
leaves in your garage.
There's
Dude,
this
It's a constant problem.
there's this annoying vortex of air that gets trapped up against the garage doors of my house. So it's impossible to blow all of the leaves out of the place. Like
Yeah.
you'll start blowing, and as soon as you're blowing them, here comes the wind, and it just blows it all right back in your face. It's like impossible to corral all the leaves out of that damn place.
I got a similar problem out at mine. Over in the corner, there's always a huge pile of leaves. Even if I clean it up, it'll be there next week.
Yep.
And then all of that just blows into my garage every time you open the door up.
You gotta get that pad fixed out of your man door. You get
Yeah,
that
I know.
thing-
It's like sinking.
Yeah. There's a foam something or another thingy where they drill a little hole into it.
Oh,
and
yeah,
just-
they level it up.
they blow a bunch of stuff in the bottom and it
Picks it up.
picks it up.
Yeah, I know. I need to get that fixed too. But
I don't get any leaves in my garage, thank you.
Is there a tree for a square mile around your house?
You know, when I
if there
bought
was, they'd put a house there.
when I bought my house in my backyard, it was the summer and there were leaves on all the trees. I had no idea there was a whole nother street behind my house. You couldn't see through it. There were that many trees. It was kind of odd for where I live. But then, of course, I had to turn my whole backyard into a garage. So then I cut down a lot of trees.
That's a better use of space, anyways.
But like, I mean, I don't mow back there. I don't do. This year, my idea was to plant grass. So we'll see. But I was thinking,
Why?
I think you should plant gravel.
Yeah,
Plant
that's what I
gravel.
would
And
do.
just have a rock garden.
Yeah.
some cacti.
Ooh, yeah. Actually, that'd be pretty neat.
And then you wouldn't have to worry about anything. You just
You
let
do a
it,
water
let it
feature?
chill.
I was thinking about making a bog.
A bog.
Because I could
A
grow
moat.
my own. I could grow my own cranberries
You could do your moat.
in my bog in my backyard.
What's wrong with you? You look
I
like
haven't
Ocean
figured that
Spray out there.
Yes, exactly. We're gonna join the co-op, the Ocean Spray Co-op. I'm gonna have to get that like watercraft with the paddles. Gotta harvest my I can't ride today. Gotta harvest my cranberries.
You're gonna be out there in them waders.
And then I'm gonna can it in the can so that at Thanksgiving time you can get the nice canned cranberry, which is the preferable method
Yeah.
of cranberry. I don't want that like sauce affair. It's got to be the can where you can see it came from the can.
Oh yeah, so like when you pull it out, it still looks like the
Yes,
can.
exactly. And you have to like shake it, and it like
And then you slice it.
yes.
That's how
yes.
you serve
Yep.
it. You serve
Now-
it sliced.
We serve it the upright way, so you have to slice across.
You don't like vertical slices?
No,
Like horizontal
you can't
slices?
put the can this way, because then it'll just roll around. You have to keep it upright and slice across.
I always remember that my stepdad would like put a slice of it on his turkey, and dude, I don't like it. I'm not into
No,
cranberries.
I'm not into it either.
Oh, it's delicious. You know what I think I'm gonna do? People like get champagne and they put all these adornments in it. I think we need to just start slicing up the jellied cranberry and float that in the champagne.
That's awful.
Put that in the Christmas punch.
You get like a little.
I wonder if you freeze it, if it like could be like ice cubes.
Well, say you get like a little round cube thing, and you pack it in there, and then you reform it into a ball that looks like a cranberry, but it's just the juice pieces.
I think I'm gonna have to
It'd probably
experiment with
freeze.
this.
We're gonna see some pound cakes with little jelly cranberries on top.
Yes, the Bunt. I did make fruitcake this year.
I don't like fruitcake.
Well,
I
you're
want that
a
lemon.
fruitcake.
I want that lemon one again.
When did I make that?
Oh,
Oh, it was for
you brought it here for
Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
It's for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it good? I don't
Oh, it
remember.
was amazing.
I don't remember it.
It was fire.
Well, the problem is whenever I make these, I just find the first recipe online.
Oh,
So like, if I make it again, it might be a different recipe. I don't know.
Never keep track of them.
No.
Jessica will experiment with different recipes, and I think she typically does is when we find one that is good, she'll put it in a recipe book. But
I mean, now that I
problem
have
is
a printer, I could print it off.
When you go through you're going through your phone and you're making the recipe, you don't know it's gonna be good till after you're done. Well,
Yeah.
by the time it's done and you've eat it, and you're like, oh, well, I've lost the page. It's gone now.
yeah.
Now, there are a few recipes where I remember what website they came from, and I remember like roughly what the recipe is. So usually like with Bunts, if it involves flour and all of that shit, nope, that's not a me recipe. If it involves a box of cake mix, hell yeah. Cake mix and instant pudding, that's my type of Bunt recipe.
He's like, box cake? Yes.
Yes. Keep it simple.
So we've talked a lot about everything but motorcycling.
No, we had some good motorcycle topics in there.
Do we have anything else we'd like to talk about as far as motorcycling?
We had the Iron Pony grocery store.
Yeah.
We had today's episode of What's Happening with KTM. We
Nothing-
had
nothing's happening with KTM.
what was the other? Oh, riding and weather and people being stupid.
Oh, news topic that's is time sensitive. Did you see the new Daily Rider?
Not yet. No, it just
Oh,
came out today, didn't it? Or
I just
yesterday?
watched it.
What does that mean?
You don't watch Daily Rider?
I don't watch like any motorcycle YouTube.
What's wrong with you? Do you even ride, bro?
That's the thing. I'm too busy riding to watch things on the YouTube.
You got to check out your competition. This is our competition.
Yeah, it's market research.
You got to be versed in this.
I am not well versed in this.
Anyways, Daily Rider is Zach Quartz. He rides a motorcycle.
Did he put one? What was it?
This episode just came out was a smart villain.
Yes.
801.
So that one popped up on my feed, and I saw it, and I said, "Oh, I think the 801's an interesting bike," and then I didn't watch it.
Yeah. So, but what I watch all of the Daily Riders, regardless of what he's riding, because I like the format he's laid out for it. He rides the exact same route every time on different bikes, so it's more scientific. Like
Does he go down a train track thing?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And he, so it's like his off-road section, and he jokes about it. He knows it's not a legit off-road section. It's just, on his way to work. So, and he'll take like ridiculous things through the off-road section.
Yeah,
Like,
like, I think he took an M1000.
yeah, he took an M1000
Yeah.
through there. Like
Every bike goes through that.
Well, not every. He has skipped it a few times, and he'll even mention when he skips it. But same thing like with the section he does a wheelie on, he'll just straight up be like, "Yeah, this bike doesn't wheelie," and kind of just move on. But
Well, can't any bike wheelie?
if you believe in yourself and you try extra hard, yes.
I mean, my friend Tim, he had a Ninja 250, and he said the only way you could make that wheelie is if you got on the passenger pegs.
Oh no, I've wheelied Ninja 250s. The you clutch dump one hard enough, it'll wheelie. But things that don't wheelie are like Can-Am Spiders. They don't wheelie. It does not happen.
Well, that has 3 wheels.
Well, a Niken can wheelie. You can wheelie the hell out of a Niken, but you can't wheelie a Can-Am. It's not happening.
Well, they won't let you.
Yeah,
They
like,
have
well,
wheelie
one, the
control.
thing won't let you, and 2, even if it did let you, just burn the rear tire off.
Can we wheelie a slingshot?
No, Slingshot will also not wheelie. But yeah, new Daily Rider come out, 801 Smart Pillin. It was a good one. Nothing super notable in there about the Daily Rider, but I just like to bring up that episode. Just reminded me of the whole of Daily Rider. I like that he does that format every time, and in every section he talks about the same things. Like there's this one stoplight that he stops at where he talks about the dash. There's this neighborhood that he goes through that every time he hits a stop sign, he does a footless stop, or he attempts a footless stop, and that's to show off like just how easy and balanced the motorcycle feels.
Low speed balance.
And he has this one section he calls Lover's Lane. In Lover's Lane, he talks about passenger accommodations. He has this curvy road section where he talks about how the bike handles on a curvy road. And he'll mention that, like, hey, this is the curvy road section. And he'll be like, but last week I took this bike out through the canyons and I can talk, and then he talks, expands on it more than just the literal 2 curves he goes through.
And that's the suspension section, the highway section at the beginning.
The highway section, he talks about highway chops and how it cruises and wind protection, things like that.
Kind of covers all the bases of everything that you would use any motorcycle for.
It's a really thorough way to look at every bike. It doesn't matter what bike it is. You put it through this test and you're like, yeah, it kind of goes through everything of how you would actually use the bike, except for hard off-road. And he'll admit, like, hey, I don't go through motocross jumps on my way to work. Like,
well, and none of those,
I do.
none of the bikes that he tests on the road that does that are really that kind of bike. I mean, some of the like the 450 CF motor that he just did recently, the adventure bike, that's like the ones that are really, really close to like dual sports are the only ones that you could argue would even have a use case for harder off-road than what he's honestly doing down the train track. And I think they probably off-camera test those.
They do, and he even says,
anyways.
like, he's like, hey, I took this CF Moto through like a ride through the Mojave or wherever he was going.
Yeah.
And what are all my dogs doing?
Being a dog.
Being grumpy.
Doing what he always does.
I don't know. But he'll mention in the off-road section, he'll talk about its off-road chops if it's like a genuine off-roader. Because he, same thing, like if it's a legitimate like sport bike or something, when he's in the curvy road section, he'll expand more on it. But every bike goes through this same ride. And I like that I like that the format stays consistent, even though the subject matter changes every time. So
Yeah.
I think that works well, and I've applauded him on that, because if you see other places that test bikes, they often test the bikes in different locations. Well, your basis
Yeah.
for comparison is wrong if you're testing them in different locations. It's not apples to oranges, you know. Or, I'm sorry, it's not apples to apples. It's apples to oranges.
Well, I like too that
Apples
the
to
metric
cranberries.
Yeah.
the metric that he's measuring is not, is it the best performance? Is it the best at this? Is it the best off road? Is it a good daily rider? Is it a good
Is it a good
best
bike to
daily
live
rider?
with? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a good bike to live with? Is it something that I would want to own and have? And then and when he says that, he's like, well, if you're the type of person that wants like a canyon carver, then this bike is good or is bad at that task. So you might want to skip on this one. Or he'll be like, if you are the type of person that wants to do hardcore off-road adventure bike riding, this probably isn't your bike, or maybe it is your bike, you know, and he'll expand more on that.
There would be a different bike for that. If that was the metric at which you were measuring all the bikes, then obviously the order would change.
And then at the end of it, if you've ever seen it, he has a dry erase board that he ranks the bikes on. And he has many of these boards for all the different seasons. Each season gets its own board. And then he has like this special board that's
classics.
for the classics. And the classics are usually like, they're not production bikes. They're like the Battletoad is on the classics. I think Dave the Gixxer is on the classics. It's bikes that they've built, or like Spurgeon Dunbar's 890 Rally.
Or super old special vintage bikes.
Or yeah, super old special vintage bikes you can't just go buy.
Yeah, like that 100-year-old Harley would on the classics board.
Yeah, and that goes on the classics. And he even ranks the classics on how decent they are, but all of the classics are like not very good, but they're special. They're just something special about them.
They're not really a daily rider bike.
No. But the other boards, he'll even revert back. He'll be like, hey, this is where this bike ranked on the 2025 season board. He goes, but the 2025 season board only has 3 bikes on it, so it's not really a good comparison. So,
but its previous model year version that they
he's like,
tested is on this board and it placed in this place.
he'll be like, how would this one place on these older boards? And he'd be like, I'd probably put it about right here on the older board. So he leaves those up. And I even like that. And it's completely subjective. It's just up to Zach Quartz, like where the bikes rank.
But it's consistent.
But it is
Because it's just
consistent.
him.
It's just him. And I think he's pretty pragmatic about how he goes about it. And I tend to agree with most things that he says about bikes.
But does he test scooters?
Yes, he loves scooters. He's a huge scooter guy.
Is there a scooter board?
They're not super big on all. They're like, there's not a lot of scooters.
Yeah, there just aren't that many scooters.
Yeah.
But he's definitely ridden scooters on Daily Rider, and he'll even talk like, "Hey, I'm scooter guy. Like I love scooters."
I think it would be cool to see a couple scooters go up on there. I just like to see the disruption of the board
By like an
by the
X-Max.
scooter being like really, really high, if not the highest.
Yeah, like I would love to see an X-Max on there and be like,
just to be undefeatable. just some 40. Well, that's what's great about it is that a $8,000 scooter is going to be higher on the Daily Rider board than a $30,000 Ducati.
and he generally he doesn't like favoring price, good or bad. He might mention price and be like, hey, this is a really affordable bike, or hey, this is a really expensive bike.
Well, it's the features that come with the price that can change it on the board based on certain metrics that might help it be better at being a daily rider.
And if he gets it down to like where he's
But
trying
it's
to,
not about money.
and if he's trying to rank it on the board and he's like, look, between these 2 bikes, they're really, really close, but this one's a little cheaper, he'll give that one the nod. But most of the time it doesn't come down to price at all. He will notate he uses like a little magnetic strip with the bike label on it.
Yeah, if it's pricey or spicy.
If it's pricey, he'll put a little dollar sign. If it's spicy, he'll put a little flame. And if it's something that just tickles his soul, he'll put a little
smiley face.
Little smiley face on it. Like the Grom, he's put a little smiley face next to it. And on like the M1000R,
It was
whatever.
pricey and spicy.
Yeah, pricey and spicy. So he had both of those labels on it. I think he even put 2 pricey things on it. It's a very expensive motorcycle. But he just notates that. It doesn't affect where it is on the leaderboard. It's just a notation like, hey, just, want to put it out there like this is a expensive bike. But price aside, this is where it ranks.
If you look at the boards, there's the top end of the board, there's a lot of bikes that aren't pricey bikes.
Yeah, like the first season, I think the thing that won it was the Versus.
The Versus ran like the first couple boards.
Yeah, like the Versus
very
650
high
is like
in the first couple
very
boards.
high as a daily rider. But then like on one year, like the Versus was like dominating. And then he rode a BMW GS Adventure. And he's like, well, I hate to do this. And he went all the way up to the top. And then he put the BMW GS Adventure. He goes, like, I know what you guys are going to say in the comments. I know this is like triple the price of the Versus. And the Versus is like, does pretty much the same thing as far as a daily rider goes.
But this is better.
He's like, but just flat out, this is a better motorcycle. He goes, and I know it's super expensive motorcycle. I get it. But ride one. They're really good. Mm-hmm. So that's what he always says. Every time he gets on a GS, he's a BMW guy. And he goes, I know people make fun of these, but they're just really good motorcycles. But I do like how Zach Quartz has the daily rider. And they used to do, when he was a motorcyclist, he had a similar show. And the same thing, but they called it something else. I don't remember what they called it.
Yeah.
MC Commute.
Yeah, that's it.
MC Commute is what, and they did, Motorcyclist Magazine still does MC Commute, but it's not very good. It's only good because Zach Quartz was on it.
Mm.
So that's what he's doing now. Is he does Daily Rider, and then what's their other video? CTXP, which I think there's a new one coming out soon.
You sure? Because the other one just came out like a couple weeks ago.
That was the last motorcycle content that I watched.
What was it? I don't remember.
The Bike and a Bus, where
Yes.
Aries episode.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that one now. Yeah. Now that one was a good one. I like that one. Yeah, they come out with those quarterly. They only do 4 a year.
So I think we got a little bit before the next one, probably.
Yeah. I still don't understand what all Zach Quartz, Ari Henning do beyond
Content?
they just don't make that much content, in my opinion. And I don't see the amount of work that they do. But then again, I'm not on the backside of it, and they could be way busier than I could ever imagine. I don't know.
I think they still do some writing.
They do writing.
So I think that's some time, and then I'm sure there's a lot of back end stuff for all the videos and things.
My argument is, okay, let's say they even wrote 3 articles a month. Let's say they wrote 5 articles a month. I could write 5 articles a month while working my full-time job and having all my hobbies and stuff. I'm like, that's not a full-time job. It's not even close. It takes like, to sit down and write an article takes like an hour. Like, it's not that big a deal.
Well, I think I know Zach releases an article with like every bike that he daily rides. Like, he also does an article of it
does it on Common Tread,
talking about all of the experience of everything else he did on the bike.
He does 2 a month.
But they probably have to sit in a lot of meetings, It is corporate America.
And, that could be very well part of it. But the thing is like his role in Revzilla is just content creation. He does 2 daily riders a month. He does 2 high side, low sides a month. And he does a CTXP episode 4 times a year. And then...
That sounds like a lot.
It doesn't seem like that much if you had no other job.
I mean, do you think he's going out looking for more things to do?
I would. If you live in California and your $100,000 house costs $1.3 million, I'm sure the mortgage ain't cheap. It's like...
Oh, yeah, because I guess if it's owned by Revzilla, they probably don't get a lot of the revenue that comes from it.
No, they only get paid whatever Revzilla is paying them.
So there you go. There's no motivation for them to do any more content than they have to.
I think it works a little different with them. They own their production company. So they're partnered with Revzilla, but they own their own production company. Now,
But all their videos and everything
are owned by Revzilla.
on Revzilla.
They're owned by Revzilla,
And they go on their site, on their YouTube page. So
Yep.
it's not like they're running their own page. So Revzilla is getting all of the revenue generated by that.
Yep.
And then they're just getting a cut back. So they're not even making all the money that the YouTube money is. They don't get that.
But then Revzilla bankrolls all their action, and it's a more steady income stream. So I understand where they're coming from as far as why they're doing it. The other thing is Ari Henning. I know he has a lot of involvement with race stuff, and I think he'll get paid to like develop race stuff. And
yeah, I know he's making some stuff on the side. He's talked about it a couple times in a few videos.
He's like the now world's leading person on CRF 300 engines.
Yep.
So he does like crazy amounts of CRF 300 builds and everything. So I know he does that. And then I know he race develops with like Yoshimura and one of the other big, I don't think it was Graves.
Can we put a CRF 300 engine in my people?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't we?
Would it fit?
We'll make it.
Okay. Diesel?
Yeah, why not? So I've just been curious, like what all they do beyond, and I'm not saying that negatively. Like I'm saying it. I'm just curious because like if we got into this space, like what could we realistically expect if we were ever successful? You know, how busy are we going to be? So I've just been curious about that, and I'm like, because the other side of the argument is like, okay, let's just say they are, and let's say you were sitting down with Zach Quartz, sitting down with us talking right now, and we point blanked him like, what are you really doing? You're only making like 4 things a month. Like I could do 4 things a day. Why are you doing 4 things a month? And if he was like, well, I'm busy, I'm writing articles, I'm doing this, sometimes I have to go on location, and that takes a week to do or whatever. And I'd be like, okay, so now you're claiming you're super busy. Why would you do what you're doing for as little pay as you're doing if you're that busy? Why wouldn't you just go work somewhere else?
Because he's doing what he loves, Aaron.
And then there you go, like that. So I think it's either one, if we got into this space, even if we didn't get paid as much as we would want to be paid or hope to be paid, as long as it's reasonable, then you could maybe give up some salary to do this just because 1, you'll be working for yourself, and 2, it's fun. Like it's just flat out fun.
And 3, I could write off all my motorcycles and vehicles.
You could.
Business expense.
As long as they're not personal.
None of it's personal.
So you have to put it all in the company name.
What's our company name?
Finding Neutral LLC.
What if we want to be an S Corp?
I think an LLC is better for us.
What if we want to be 503c?
No. I don't even know what that is.
A nonprofit.
Nonprofit. There'll be a lot of that.
Yeah, we don't make any profit, so we are a nonprofit right now.
That's correct, we are.
Our operational cost is more than our
Well, what we need to do is
revenue or profit.
we need to be a nonprofit and then donate all of our profit to our shell corporation.
And call our shell corporation like
Neutral Findings.
Saving the Children. That way no one questions it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're the nonprofit charitable organization Saving the Children, and that's where all of our Finding Neutral money gets dumped into.
Yes.
Yeah, we're building wells.
Yeah, that's what it is. We're building wells. We're out there digging wells.
Yes.
Yeah, I've always been curious about what in the heck Zach and Ari do outside of.
I'm sure
the
it's a lot of
Revzilla
ups and
channel.
up and down. I'm sure it's like they have stints where they're really busy.
Well, don't
and
they
then
have
stints where they're
families?
not.
I mean,
Yeah, they both
do,
just
but
had kids and stuff too.
So does most people's.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, and they get along fine. And then
But they do have an entire production company to handle all of the other stuff because like there's a lot of work on the back end
Yeah, all their
that we do,
They
but that they don't have to do.
they do.
Editing or
Spencer does all their editing. Like that's
yeah,
that's their
dealing with
production
all
company.
the equipment and like they just show up to location and they're pretty much ready to go. Like
And
they don't have to deal with a lot of the other back.
And I don't think it's
side
as easy
stuff.
as that. Like because you obviously have to like whenever they did the latest CTXP where they had to come to Vermont or wherever that was and do all that. So they had to organize all that and they had to get like Spurge involved. They had to buy that school bus and like,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of logistics involved. So that all takes time and planning and doing all that. But I don't know. I worked in manufacturing. I had to do a lot of logistics planning and stuff like that. And it's just not that difficult of a task. Like that wasn't even my original job role. I picked it up because it needed done. Like that was the only reason I was doing it was because it needed done and there was no one else to do it. So I was just like, well, okay, well, you said you need to ship these things down over here to this other place. Okay, well, you're going to need not only those things, you're going to need all of these items. You're going to need to do this. Then we'll have to get it all prepped, box it, put it on a truck, ship it down. And then when it gets down there, it'll have to be packed out and put into these places. We'll have to move all this around. We'll have to build all this infrastructure. So like, I just started taking over that and it just became like kind of like a project management sort of thing. And just because it needed done, but ultimately it wasn't that difficult of a task. Something that like, I remember when they asked us to remove robots, I remember other people who worked at Meyer, like Bud, was just like, oh, that's impossible. And like, everybody's like expecting it to take like months to do. They gave me like a week to do it. And I just came over to Travis, like, hey, Travis, I got to move the robots. Travis was like, okay, because I knew he knew how to take down the controls on them and everything. And I was like, he's like, when do they want to move? I was like, oh, they want them down there next week. And he's like, okay. And so I just unhooked all the equipment, packaged it all up, got it down off the mezzanine, loaded it onto a truck and said, see you later. It's
Bye.
a pretty simple job. And I was like, that wasn't as hard as everybody was making it out to be. So I'm thinking like if we got this thing rolling and we started doing like bigger adventure kind of stuff like we want to do, I think we can.
Like we had a clapped out Jixter battle.
However we want to, whatever we want to
Who
come
can
up with.
make the most clapped out Jixter?
I think a scooter ride over a BDR. I think that would be one that we can do with what we have. Because we're not successful with this yet. So we don't have piles of money to be buying up stuff. We already have scooters. We would just need to take the time. So it wouldn't be a this year thing. It would be like a next year or the year after thing. And we would take like a week, at least a week, probably a good solid week to probably drive somewhere, park the truck, unload the scooters, and then ride the scooters or get dropped off someplace and then ride the scooters to across a BDR, whether it's the Northeast BDR, the Southeast BDR, or whatever BDR we want to
Can
go
you
do.
explain to somebody who doesn't know what this is, what this is?
Do you not know what it is, Nick?
I do not know what it is.
So a BDR stands for Backcountry Discovery Route. And what it essentially is, like the Soul? Mm-hmm. Remember how the Soul was? Like approximately half dirt, half street, maybe a little bit more dirt than street, but ultimately the dirt was like dirt roads that a car could drive down.
Yes.
BDRs are the same thing, except they span multiple states.
So we'd be like internationally scooting,
Yeah. Well, nationally scooting, not internationally scooting.
interstatally scooting.
Interstatally scooting. Across a BDR, which is already a planned out ride route that you can download. And there's going to be some sightseeing and stuff like that. Ultimately, it's not that like crazy exciting of riding, but you do it just to do a big adventure. And all the adventure bros are all about these BDRs. If you guys want to come to one Wednesday night, 6 to 10 at down near your place, there's a church called Crossroads, and it's in Oakley.
Yeah, it's where the traffic clogs up every goddamn Sunday.
So on Wednesday night at 6 p.m., there's a showing of the new BDR, the Southeast BDR, they're doing their debut, and the way they do their debuts is they go down to areas around the region where the BDR is, and they host movie nights where they show their movie of like them creating the BDR and riding on the BDR. So to get everybody hyped to come down and ride the BDR. So they're doing that this Wednesday, and my dealership is sponsoring that event along with other businesses and dealerships. We're sponsoring the event. We had to pay like, I don't remember what it was, $500 or something.
To the church?
No, the church is just the venue. The BDR people is who are doing it. This church just happens to be big enough and have an auditorium big enough because there's going to be apparently a few hundred people there.
There's a Kroger over there that has polished concrete.
Well, the church has polished concrete.
I'm sure.
They probably do. But come on down to that and you'll see what it's all about. There's going to be probably going to be adventure bro stuff, things happening.
So I should ride my adventure bike.
There's going to be a lot of older guys.
Old people.
That are into like Royal Enfield Himalayans and stuff.
So I should fill my gas can before I come?
Yeah, you should have got to have your jerry can on there, and you got to have like 14 GPS screens on there, and
you
got to have all the lights.
So much crash protection. There's
all
got to
the
be
lights.
all the crash protection.
Granola bars.
Yeah, got to have that. You can't adventure without that. But yeah, I'm thinking like scooter ride on a BDR.
Well, weren't we going to ride scooters to Key West?
Well, I don't know now. You guys are talking about a mountains trip. I can't do both. I just told you I got limited time off.
Yeah, I was going to say, you said you wanted to do BDR. I'm like, are you going to request the time off now for 2027?
No, like, I just have a limited amount of vacation time.
I do too.
I can do whatever I want with it, but, and all my vacation for this year is tied up. So, yeah, but BDR and trials and tribulations of riding a scooter through a BDR, I think we'd capture some funny video. I think that would be a good one.
That'll probably be the one mine falls apart on. So
yeah, but we need the adversity, right? Like that makes a good video. Like we're gonna suffer through it, but it makes a good video to have adversity because like I'll have a tow strap and I'll tow your ass 100 miles. You know, and that'll just be funny. Like that's just how it goes. So. I think that would be, and it's, we don't need to buy anything extra. We already have everything we need for that. Essentially, we just got to have the time to do it and have the enough following to warrant doing something like that. And because
we have like 27 subscribers.
Yeah, 27 subscribers.
I mean, we could do the Soul too. That's something that we could schedule for only, it would only cost us a couple days.
Yeah, the Soul would be a good one too. We could do that.
Do the whole thing.
We could do that over a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And realistically wouldn't need any extra time off work. So we could do something like that. We could do a soul ride. So that's not a bad idea. Something we can just start doing local adventure stuff. And I don't want to do it on like, say we do a mountains trip on the sport bikes. We can get some content from that, but ultimately that's not an adventure because I mean, we've done it a million times and...
Well, it might be now. The landscape's changed.
It would be an adventure if we went down there and explored. Then it would be an adventure. But if we're just going out there just shredding roads, it's not going to be an adventure style content. It's going to be...
Some people haven't been there a million times.
Well, what I'm saying is we know there's going to be no adversity. There's no unknown. It's going to be... And we'll be riding bikes that it's not going to be like... a hard thing to do.
Let's all buy baggers.
No, that's $30,000 a piece. We ain't spending $100,000 on this.
Well, used ones.
Okay, that's
that we can ride down there and then we can resell.
I still don't want to front $50,000 for it. I wish we could borrow them for my work, but that's inappropriate. I could probably borrow one for me, but I couldn't give it to you guys. But at least we could use bikes for my work for filming content with if we want to do that. But I think that's a little limited in what this, you know what I mean? Like creating content based on bike reviews is like limited. What else can you do?
There could be some for that. If it's like Hallmark stuff, like, yeah, we're not going to do like every year, but if it's like something special that shows up, a bike that will be talked about for a while, like when the Super Duke came out, or when, you know, you get some fancy limited edition something or another that comes out, something new.
Yeah, but with
that's
that
new
stuff,
to be new.
I can't take for a ride. I mean, I can't put miles on that kind of stuff. So it'd have to be like something used,
Yeah.
and it'd have to be something interesting.
Well, it can't be too big or I'll drop it.
You just got to learn how to ride motorcycles.
Probably.
Well, and I don't want you to, you can drop the demo bikes from the demo truck all you like, but you cannot drop one of our bikes.
Exactly. That's the point.
Yep. I can't let you do that. So I wouldn't put you on something that you're not confident on. If you don't feel confident, like, nah, let's not do that.
Well, that's why we need to spend more time on baggers.
They're not, the trouble with a bagger is always like parking lot maneuvers and coming to a stop. Like when I'm riding one of the big baggers that are top heavy, I continue looking forward until I come to a complete stop, and then I turn my head to check the intersection.
Now you know how I feel for every bike.
So like that's only with big baggers though, because every other bike, like as I'm rolling to a stop, I can check for traffic. But on the big bagger, I have to concentrate, or else like as soon as I turn my head, it gets away from me. And
Yep.
I mean, I never have an issue with it, but like I can feel it getting away from me, and then I turn my head back real quick, and I'm like, okay, I got to concentrate. And I come to a stop, and then I look. And I've gotten away with, you know, looking before I stop on a big bagger. I've gotten away with it a bunch of times, but most of the time I have to concentrate. So you have to figure out little stuff like that. And you also have to figure out the confidence of like how to do U-turns with the thing, how to do tight turns with the thing. And you find that the throttle's your friend, and like you load the rear brake, and then you have the clutch all the way out, and you just press the throttle against the brake, and then you make your tight turn. And that works really well. It's like all the techniques you know and love on normal motorcycles, they still work on big baggers. You just have to have the confidence to apply them. Because if you try to fight it and you try to like hold the bike up with your legs, it's 1,000 pounds. It's coming down hard. And you felt how the Pursuit felt when it came down.
It was a Challenger, thank you.
Or whatever it was, the Challenger. When it reaches a certain point, it's like a critical point. It's
like,
gone. You're not saving it, and it's not very far off of completely vertical.
Correct.
You get it just slightly past vertical, and it's like it's gone. You know. So once it goes, it's falling on the ground. There's no stopping it. You are not picking it up, and then even if you try to pick it up by yourself, that ain't happening.
False.
Did you pick it up by yourself?
No. I think about 3. I just said, okay, have fun.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did you even like ride it after that?
No.
That's awesome. You just like dropped it and walked away like,
Pretty much.
not for me.
It almost hit one of your customer slingshots.
Yeah, it'll be all right. That's funny.
They like backed it up real quick as it was going. That's the other thing. It's like slow motion.
Yeah. Like I had my BMW bagger, the big K1200 LT.
Big maroon,
Big perp.
not
And
purple.
I dropped it one time. I pulled up to my parking spot at work behind Columbia Hyundai, and when I parked it, my foot slipped. That's literally what happened. Like I come to a complete stop, I put my foot down, my foot slipped. And when my foot slipped, that bike just went right over. And I was like, it surprised me. Like I was like, what happened? And I get up, and one of the detail guys came. He saw it happen to me, and he came running out. And he's like, "You all right, man?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Because like when it fell over, as it was falling, I basically just got off
Bailed.
the bike.
Yeah.
And I just stood up, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, dude, when that thing went, it went like all of it right now. There's no saving it. So I feel for you on that one. Those big bikes, when they go down hard. A little bike, like you can get it pretty sideways before.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you can just pick it right back up. So I had one time on my Buell, my original Buell, I did a stoppie Like as I was coming up to I forget who I was riding with, but I was just being a jackass and I was riding with people and stuff. And I did a stoppie as I came up. And when the back tire came down, for whatever reason, I just didn't put my feet down fast enough, and the bike just starts going over. I just catch it, and I picked it back up and just played it off like I was being an idiot. And I think I did Lou rode my hypermotard, and he could like barely reach the pegs, let alone the ground. And we came up to this stop sign, and the way the road was banked, he put the wrong foot down. He's like reaching for the ground. The bike just keeps going. He's like, huh, huh. And he's right next to me on my bike. And he saves it and he looks at me. I was like, woo. And he just starts laughing. So I grabbed onto the bike and helped him pull it up. But yeah, like stuff like that happens on them little bikes. It's not a big deal. On a big bike, it's gone. It's going.
Yep.
What you got next, Nick? We got to add.
What do I have to add?
Yeah. You got anything else you want to suggest? Besides polished floors and cranberries?
In my bog.
In your bog?
There were some chickens that got loose in the street behind me the other day.
I'm not surprised.
I almost stole them.
Madville be Madville.
Well, as chairman of the board of the Keep Madisonville Ratchet Committee.
That was pretty ratchet. That was a ratchet-ass move.
Well, if you want to be my neighbor, the girl across the street listed her house. I knew something was up when she got all the trash off of her front porch.
Nick's like, something's going on here. They've never cleaned that trash up.
She's always wanted to like landscape her yard. So then she like I gave her some bushes that I tore out because I didn't want them. And she just planted them and never watered them. I'm like, well, yeah, they're going to get crispy if you don't water them.
Plants do need maintenance.
Yeah. So once there was some thought put into the appearance of the house, I knew something was going on. Just like how Steve 3 doors down, once the E-Class in his driveway that
Wasn't
hadn't
that a
moved
band?
for 3 years.
Wasn't that a band?
Let Steve down the street.
No, 3 doors down.
Yes. But Steve also lives 3 doors down. And he had this algae-covered E-Class in his driveway that sat there for like 3 years. So once that was gone, I'm like, something's going on here. But his house has been for sale for almost 2 months. There must be something wrong with it.
A market. That's the market.
Well, I
Probably
think he was
much.
asking too much, and it's a weird layout, and it's really not that updated. But the one across the street, like that went up on Friday, and it has been in and out all day, every day since.
My dad's house, he listed it up in Florida, and he wasn't expecting an offer so fast, and he got an offer already.
Really, because I heard Florida's kind of like all the people that moved down there during COVID are like, I don't know if we want to live here anymore.
Yeah, they are. And like I said, people are flighty, seat of their pants, immediate satisfaction. That's all they can think about. And all these people, COVID, they didn't have to be in the office. Oh, I'm going to move to warm weather since I don't have to go to the office here in Cincinnati. And so they moved to Florida and they worked remotely. Well, guess what? Not only is the jobs drying up, because Florida, like, they don't have jobs down in Florida. If you aren't working remote, like, what are you doing down there?
Healthcare.
Like, there's not much going on in Florida, you know? So it's not like they have huge manufacturing down there. They don't. They have, like, nothing. Tourism, you know? So if you're not in those fields, well, then, okay, you're not going to live in Florida, so you got to move back to where there's manufacturing. Where's there manufacturing in the country? Well, I mean, there's Silicon Valley out on the West Coast,
Silicon Valley,
and then there's here in the heartland. Like, there's all the manufacturing. Like, you have all kinds of manufacturing here in the heartland. So that's where people come for jobs. That's why this area is so stable as far as like house prices and economies and everything like that.
so it might be time for me to
stuff.
get my investment property in Florida for my snowbirding activity.
Yeah, you got a few years before it crashes, so I wouldn't bank on that too hard. But if you're looking at picking up cheap, if you're just looking at picking
I want
up,
cheap.
Yeah, if you're looking at just picking up, you'll be fine. But give it a couple years. I think the condos are going to really go cheap down in Florida. Yeah, my dad listed his up, and within a week he had an offer, and he's like, "Crap!" And so he has to get out of his house.
Where's he going?
here. He's coming back up this way.
Oh, really?
To what area?
Well, he lived in Westchester before, so I would guess Westchester again. Don't know yet, but since his wife is special needs now, it's going to be difficult to find a house that works for her special needs and close enough to like where she needs to go to get her help. So, because she's completely paralyzed now, like she can't do anything, and everything has to be specially done. Like when he buys a house, he's probably gonna have to like renovate a bathroom to work for her. Mm-hmm. It's hard, and it's going to be this way from here on out. Like this is the rest of her life. We don't know. Typically, people with ALS live for, on average, about 5 years after diagnosis. And she got diagnosed earlier, within a year, but she got diagnosed late. She's had this for a while, and it took them forever to diagnose it. So we don't know like what kind of timeline we're on here. So he's got to like try to plan for that, and it's difficult. So he was down there in Florida.
So they decided to move here now. Why?
Well, so he moved to Florida because they wanted to move to Florida. He got a job down there. He had an awesome job. Paid him a crap ton of money. He made so much money. It was ridiculous. They have a big, nasty house, 5-bedroom, like 5,000 square foot, saltwater heated pool, like super, super nice house in a gated community. All the landscaping, all that shit's all done by the community and everything. So like it's super nice. He lost that job like, I don't remember, 2 years ago. He lost that job, and he was out of a job for like over a year. And that's when all this stuff started going down with her. So he was like, look, I need to either work remote or I need to have an office really close by the house. So he was really limited on where he could go work. So he found a job doing the exact same thing and like making boatloads of money again, even though he didn't need that. They allowed him to work remotely like 3 days a week, and then he had to go into the office for one day, and then he had to go travel for one day. Like kind of the way it worked or something like that. Well, he just lost that job because the mortgage industry is not doing so hot right now. So this is normal. Like he's used to the mortgage industry being this way, so he's not surprised by it. But he's not old either. He's only 62. So he's not really at retirement age yet. And he said he's done the math. When my grandpa passed, they sold my grandpa's house, which my grandpa owned outright. So my dad got the benefit from that. So he has that benefit, and he split it with him. My uncle got the benefit. So they split that. So he's got that money. He's got his retirement savings money, and now he just sold his house for like probably
$1 bajillion.
Probably around 800, I would say. And he owned most of his house. I think he only owed like 250 on it or something, like 200 or 250 on it or something. So he's got all that money plus his retirement plus the stuff from my grandpa that got passed down to him. So he's in a position now where, and all of her stuff is covered. The ALS Society helps out a ton, and then she's 100% disabled on Medicare or Medicaid or whichever one it is. And
Social Security disability.
She also gets Social Security disability, which they just started getting that. Like that just happened after her diagnosis. They needed a diagnosis to be able to qualify for it. Thankfully, they finally got that. So he doesn't have to worry about having healthcare insurance for her anymore. Because without healthcare insurance for her, it'd be impossible. It would cost God knows how much.
$1 bajillion.
So he just has to worry about healthcare for him, which at 62, he might now qualify for Medicare.
I think you have to be 66.
Is it 66? Okay.
I don't know. One of them Social Security and one's Medicare.
62, you can draw Social Security.
Yeah, so I think it's 66.
Okay. And so he said he can draw Social Security. They've got her disability and Social Security coming in. And then he's got all that retirement saved up. So he thinks he'll be all right. And
Without getting another job?
Without getting another job. But So the house was costing him $5,000 a month is what the house was costing him. And that's between the mortgage and then paying upkeep, because it's like he pays like $2,000 a month in upkeep. Like, it's crazy how much he pays in upkeep. So he no longer has that expense, and he can move up here. He can move into a place up here. He figures for about $2,000 a month in either mortgage or rent and upkeep. So he figures he can do about $2,000 a month instead of $5,000 a month. And then he says at that point he won't need to get a job. He can just live his life. So that's why he decided to move back up here, because it's just a lot less
Cheaper.
expensive, and you don't have to worry about it. Plus, he'll be close to my grandma, because she's 84 now. So he just wants to be like up here, close to family. He's dealing with his wife, and what he has to deal with there, and lost his job. So he's like, he's got no other reason to stay down there. So he's like, yeah, I'll just move back to Ohio, where it's just life's gonna be easier up there.
He could be your neighbor.
Could be. I think he's gonna move into my brother's second house. My brother has a house in Covington. I think he's gonna move in there for a few months, and then he's gonna buy a house somewhere. It'll probably be up in this area, Westchester, Fairfield kind of area. That's where my grandma lives. That's where I live. That's where my little brother lives. So I think he'll be nearby us.
Gonna be Chesterites again. All the Coomers are gonna be in Chesterians.
Chester the molester.
Fucking Westchester.
White Chester.
I can't stand Westchester.
Does John Boehner still live there?
I don't know if he does. Who all had houses in Westchester? Ken Griffey Sr. had a house in Westchester.
Well, J.D. Vance is like my neighbor.
J.D. Vance, yeah, he's down there, but he's from Middletown.
Miltucky.
And who else lived there? There was the astronaut.
Neil Armstrong.
Oh yeah, Neil.
No, Neil Armstrong.
Glenn.
Yes,
No, he
Glenn.
was-
Glenn.
It was
Yeah.
John. It was John Glenn that had a house up here in
Yeah.
Westchester.
Neil was like Columbus or something, wasn't he?
No,
Or
he
Dayton?
was in the Cincinnati area, but I don't remember where. His son had a house in Anderson. I think it was near Anderson, and my mom was good friends with his son's wife. So Neil Armstrong's son, so it'd be his daughter-in-law. My mom was real good friends with, and when those two were getting married, my mom hosted the bridal shower at our house in Westchester, and I'm not joking, Neil Armstrong came. So I got to meet Neil Armstrong when I was like 13 or so.
When you still wanted to be an astronaut.
And so the Secret Service came to my house, because Neil Armstrong gets Secret Service protection, or got whatever it is now. But
Was he with the Lord now?
I don't know if he is or not. He's close. If not, he's old, man. But when he came, Secret Service had to come and do a sweep through the house. I'm not joking. And there was a Secret Service agent that stood outside our front door the entire time.
Hell yeah.
He didn't come inside. We gave him lemonade. We're like, you want some lemonade, dude?
He's like, I'm not allowed to drink anything.
And when Neil came in, like before Neil came in, his people came in and were like, they told us
Don't touch him.
the only topics we're allowed to discuss are normal, like small talk. You were allowed to discuss like things like the weather. We were allowed to discuss. We couldn't discuss politics. We were not allowed to ask. They explicitly told us you are not allowed to ask him about the space program, about NASA, about his moon landing. You are not allowed to ask him about that stuff. They specifically said that to us, and we're like, okay, what?
That's so weird.
Well, what I had figured is the dude landed on the moon in 1969, and he's been asked about it ever since.
Well, I was thinking maybe it's because he didn't actually land on the moon.
There's all those conspiracy theories, but this wasn't a government agent telling us this. This was just like his publicist telling us this. It wasn't a government agent that told us that. It was like his publicist, because it pisses him off. That's the thing. It's just like it pisses him off. He doesn't want to talk about it. I get it. So no one did. I got to greet him and shake his hand, and then he sat in our lazy boy chair, and then I had to go upstairs because it was a bridal shower, so I had to go upstairs. I was 13 years old, so I wasn't allowed down with the adults, and that was all I got to see Neil Armstrong for. But I got to shake his hand, which is cool, and yeah, I remember like my stepdad. It was the first time I'd ever seen him like starstruck and like dumbfounded. Like he was so nervous in front of me. I've never seen my stepdad nervous. Like he's a pretty confident guy, and he was like couldn't even talk around Neil. Like he was like his voice was shaky and stuff because it's freaking Neil Armstrong, man. Like he's kind of an important person in history of the world of human existence. It's pretty cool. And conspiracy theory or not, he's still a very important person in all of human history. And I think that's pretty special. So we got to meet that dude. He was at the house. But yeah, his son lives over in like Anderson, and he had like a house I think in Westchester or close by to Westchester, but he also lived in like Florida. Neil did.
Near Cape Canaveral.
I don't know if he was down there near NASA or not, but he had a house in Florida.
Jupiter.
When you're old and you're rich, that's what you do. You have a snowbird house. So
Yep.
And that's where he spent most of his time, I believe, was down in Florida. But he came up for that. And then his son and that lady that my mom knew, they got a divorce. So I was like, dang it, I'm never going to get to see Neil again.
Nope. Your opportunity is gone.
His son obviously has the last name Armstrong, so that lady had the last name Armstrong. I'm like, dude, that's so cool. Like, can you imagine being welcomed into a family like that where you're like, it's like royalty,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This lady was just like a normal lady that like my mom worked with or something. That's how she knew her.
Classic.
I went into their house that they built out in Anderson. It was like a McMansion, but down in the basement it was a finished basement, and they had a theater with like these crazy seats, and they had like stacked like a theater,
Yep.
And the seats were like love seats. There were like multiple love seats, and each one would like fold out and lay out and everything like a bed. And they had like a popcorn machine and stuff. And I was like, dude, this is the coolest house ever. You guys have a movie theater. I thought it was so cool. I can't remember. I was young then. I was like 12 or 13 or something.
Young and ambitious.
Oh, yeah. Anything else?
No, play the music.
Why? Whatever, Nick. Party pooper.
I don't have anything else.
Go squash your cranberries.
In my bog.